Hey everyone! Today, we'll debunk a certain idiot who's downplaying Kratos' strength. Yes, this idiot is running away from me and doesn't want to argue with me, so it's clear how much of a Kratos hater he is. But this will only be part 1 of the video. I'm planning to make part 2. Part 1 will be about cosmology. Part 2 will be about his criticism of Kratos' strength. This video is too long, and very long, 18 minutes long. This is complete nonsense, because Bruno isn't canon for God of War. His words aren't even considered canon. So why are you making all these arguments? Here are direct scans of Bruno himself saying that he isn't canon and that his words shouldn't be taken into account, as well as the fact that they contradict the plot. Even if you do take his words into account, consider the fact that Bruno also calls the Greek world the entire universe. This is a very stupid argument, really stupid. Let's start with the fact that these are, first and foremost, timelines. Not just variations of the future. They're looking at infinite timelines, which are realities, as has been stated several times, that these are separate worlds, where the Sisters of Fate summon different beings from these worlds. We see that these realities have their own levels, including the fact that they are also called other realities, specifically realities or worlds. But they're not simply called some variations of the future. And it's immediately obvious that you haven't read the comics, since you're clearly missing the fact that the comics directly say that people moved him into their mythology, allowing him to enter their universe. I don't understand. You either can't read or you're just being deliberately picky. But your scans don't say anything about the underworld having an end. The first scan doesn't say anything about an end, and the second scan talks about the Elysium fields. The underworld was also called infinite several times, and it was also described as something beyond the entire cosmos. I don't understand the point of this nitpicking, since it's just talking about a city in Asgard, not about all of Asgard. Even so, we know the fact that different worlds will have their own settlements, their own cities, countries, or regions. Even so, we can see a larger space outside the city and the walls of Asgard. What nonsense is this? Your scan says that a gay woman made the sickle out of herself. What's wrong with that? I don't understand why you're taking it out of context. Regarding the ship, we see here that ships can travel through different realities, which proves that ships can do this, so it's no surprise that this ship ended up here. And yes, regarding Mimir being from Scotland, we can say that every mythology has its own version of Scotland, as we know from Greece, where there's a common version of the desert and Persia.
Mythologies exist on this planet simultaneously. They're all creation stories that date all the way back to the beginnings of the planet itself, but these are the culture's sort of creation story of that culture. But they are sort of simultaneously coming up in different geographic locations on the Earth. I originally started pitching this to people and saying, you know, the mythologies of the world are sort of cultural origin stories separated by geography. So when you think about the mythologies, I say the visual is the Hubble telescope image of all the galaxies, right? That super long exposure shot that shows all the galaxies of the world as part of a whole universe, right? And I think you look at the planet, and it is really just these mythological stories all over the world that kind of exist at the beginning of time all the way into present. So, historically in their timelines, so a lot of these stories are about before man. Right, so that they're like, this happened before, and we were talking about what this was. So these connections to all of that was, okay, when he leaves Greece, he is leaving sort of the sort of ecosphere of this mythology, but there are so many others that exist all over the place, and that when he goes to Scandinavia, he ends up in Scandinavia. It is kind of this line of demarcation, right? This sort of BC AD change to, okay, it is still him, but he has entered into this sort of new belief system, right? It is like going to another country, right? That, everyone's speaking a different language. There is a different sort of set of rules and cultural norms, right? It's just, it happens to be that there's a bunch of gods hanging around with a bunch of monsters hanging around.
Yeah,
So,
I remember you saying not that long ago that this is this version of Kratos, but you could delve into other mythologies with him in the future and I think that's really interesting because it's something that, having him be part of one and the idea that it would overlap is jarring, but also really interesting. It's like you can do a lot of weird stuff there with different mythologies just intertwining.
And having like even slight tangential connections. Like I very, very, very intentionally have this period of time from the end of 3 to the beginning of this game in which we don't tell anybody how long it is, right? Mm-hmm. I know how long it is. The writers know how long it is. No one else.
Okay, this is where, I don't know if you have to light a joint for this question or what, but okay, thinking about realms, how this stuff works. Are all of the realms... Okay, I guess the question is Midgard all of the Earth, or is it just that one area? Like, does a section of Midgard extend all the way to Greece? Is there a version of Asgard, which probably we weren't talking about yet, that also envelops the entire world? Basically, do the realms from Norse mythology expand beyond Norse mythology, is the question.
In my mind, you can contradict, and I don't think we ever necessarily said for certain, but like, Midgard is Earth. It's,
all of Earth.
It's all of Earth or whatever, but like, the people who are involved in Norse mythology, who worship those gods and whatever, are in this section of Earth, and to them, Midgard is to them what to the Greeks, whatever Gaia or the Earth or whatever was to them. It's just Earth to me. I didn't think of them when I was writing anything as completely separate places.
Yeah. So
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But
Kratos got on a boat and went north, and he found himself in this land that people happen to call Midgard.
Okay. So it's not like in Elfheim, if you keep walking, you can eventually get to the Egyptian version of Elfheim, which would be very trippy and cool.
I guess you theoretically could, because all of our realms, I mean, we established they exist, like Freya says, they exist in the same physical space. They're essentially just kind of like, dimensions on top of each other. That's why the temple, the realm temple, and the bridge can all exist. It exists in all the realms. All the towers, all those things exist in the same realm. So, if you were inside the light temple in Alfheim, and you could theoretically travel right from there to Muspelheim or Niflheim or any of those places, you would be in that location.
It's funny that I don't even need to refute this, since he refuted himself, since Cory Barlog himself directly says that each mythology is a separate universe. He says that these are separate stories that created their own universe within their mythology. He says that each mythology has its own belief systems and different cultures, calling them galaxies orbiting the planet, but that doesn't mean they are limited to the planet. Since Cory Barlog directly says that mythologies are separate universes that have their own belief systems and different cultures. That is, yes, they are located on the same planet, but this planet contains these realities that have their own story about the creation of their universe. Metsofos says that each mythology has its own interpretations of Egypt or Greece in his mythology. He gave an example and explained this. He never said that mythologies are limited to the planet. Here are also a few scans where they refer to mythologies as separate universes and worlds. So these aren't all the scans. What kind of nonsense are you seriously talking about? Instead of debunking this yourself, you're going to show me another video. Tell me, you're a real idiot. Who's trying to debunk Kratos here? Whose video is this? Tell me, or do you seriously think I'm going to watch someone else's video? This proves that this idiot knows nothing about God of War, and is simply posting other people's arguments that have been refuted by all Kratos fans. Even Warrior Z refuted this. And yes, he's posting DGA gaming arguments. It's honestly such nonsense. But okay, debunk two idiots.
The 9 realms were stated to exist on the branches of the world tree. They were never specified to be physically contained along its branches. As you can see, the 9 realms are not constrained along the branches. The Yggdrasil was also claimed to be omnipresent across the realms.
Didn't think you'd be one to
Where is a Yggdrasil if it's supposed to be omnipresent?
mount a rescue mission.
He saved our lives. We are indebted.
Ah, yes, you big softy. Should be easy to find Birger from up here.
The others were frightened of this place. We should be cautious.
On that note...
Dragon!
I don't understand what you're even talking about, but it says that the worlds are actually physically located on Yggdrasil since it completely encompasses them. I don't understand what this scene is supposed to say. It's just Kratos and Freya flying to save their friend from the dragon, but nowhere does it say that the worlds aren't located when there are scans that contradict your words.
The 9 realms are also claimed to be different space-time continuums because they exist on different planes of reality. Planes are also defined as flat two-dimensional surfaces. The red lines indicate the planes on which the realms lie. Furthermore, Freya also mentioned that the 9 realms exist in the same physical space.
All the realms exist in the same physical space, reflections of each other.
A physical space is defined as a three-dimensional space making up a universe.
Yeah, that's complete nonsense, and here's why. It talks about separate planes of existence, not some planes that make up the same world. As we know, there are even world rifts that appear only in one world, not in the same world. This makes it clear that it occurs on separate planes that aren't connected to a single continuum, so I don't understand what's wrong.
People also commonly claim that the 9 realms are separate space-time continuums because Mimir said that time flows differently in each realm. In physics and relativity, time dilation is a difference in the flow of time for different objects, as measured by clocks. There are 2 different kinds of time dilation. The first kind is due to the relative motion between 2 objects. Time dilation also occurs due to the warping of space-time. Any kind of energy, including matter, can cause space-time to warp. Look at how Interstellar portrayed time dilation due to black holes.
Around a hoop. Landing there takes us dangerously close, and a black hole that big has a huge gravitational pull.
Look, I could swing around that neutron star to decelerate.
No, it's not that. It's time. The gravity on that planet will slow our clock compared to Earth's drastically.
Oh, how bad?
Well, every hour we spend on that planet will be 7 years back on Earth.
Thus, different flows of time in no way indicate the existence of different space-time continuums. Time moves faster on Mars than it does on Earth, but I don't see anyone saying that Mars is a completely different universe or space-time continuum because of that.
Again, this is nonsense, and here's why. I don't understand at all why you decided that this is about time dilation if that's not what we're talking about at all. Mimir says that each world has its own separate time, and each world has its own. We know that worlds also have their own separate space with stars and galaxies, and as I already explained, each world is a separate plane, a different reality. This already makes it clear that we're talking about a different, separate time and space. Mimir says that time flows differently in different worlds, which makes it clear that the space of this world itself has its own time axis. I also don't understand why you're showing some movie about a black hole, as I said. You simply made this up to once again stupidly downplay God of War. Honestly, there's nothing to refute here.
Lastly, the Yggdrasil exists in the realm between realms, which is a three-dimensional space, stated to have stars in it.
It seems to me that he doesn't even know how the world between worlds works, but Yggdrasil isn't located in the world between worlds because Yggdrasil itself is much higher, as the world between worlds was created with the help of Yggdrasil, being a higher dimension that acts as a barrier between worlds, separating them. So where did you get the idea that the world between worlds is 3 dimensions?
Speak.
The tree has become rather overgrown. And if it grows too wildly, the branches risk getting too heavy and falling, which is not ideal considering they hold all the realms.
I am no gardener.
What an absolute shock. No, I do not require any horticultural skills from you, but I would ask that you keep an eye open for the stags of the 4 seasons. They normally graze upon the tree and keep it tidy. Unfortunately, Bitter decided it would be funny to trick Arrogant into releasing them. If you happen to find the stags during your travels, I would greatly appreciate assistance in bringing them home. I would have one of my spectral squirrels do it, but they, well, keep eating the feed I give them. Consequence of it being the most delicious food in all the 9 realms, I suppose.
Honestly, I don't understand what you're trying to say, since Bruno isn't canon, and I've already shown the scans. Now, regarding the word Ratatosk, let's start with the fact that his words cannot be called exaggerations, or that he can lie. He is just an ordinary watchman who guesses what to look after. It is not necessary to know the cosmological structures of Yggdrasil. It may also refer to dead parts that are no longer connected to Yggdrasil, so his words are not confirmed by the context. We were not even shown how the branches of Yggdrasil fall to say that they could fall. Also, Yggdrasil was called infinite several times. So that was part 1 of the video. Part 2 will follow.